Imposter syndrome. What is it? Who gets it? What causes it? How do you get over it? 4 valid questions that we're going to cover today. I'm Hayden, psychologist here in Australia. This is my channel, My Cartography. What is imposter syndrome? Well, it's all about feeling like you aren't the person you say you are, even though you are. It's a bit confusing, right? Let me put an example for you. You're a doctor, but you don't feel like you're good enough to be called one. So you feel like an imposter. Someone that says they're a doctor, but isn't actually trained and somehow just lucked their way into the title. Not to be confused with actual fraud, people with imposter syndrome genuinely earn the title they are given. They've done the study, passed the exams, gotten the qualifications, and everyone else sees them as legit, but they don't feel it. At the heart of it, imposter syndrome revolves around anxiety, self-doubt, and feelings of incompetence. They worry people will eventually find out they're an imposter, call them out, and fire them for good. It shows up in many different ways. Sometimes they may be indecisive on a simple decision, or they may constantly seek out reassurance that they're doing the right thing. They may avoid opportunities for more responsibility, but work extra hard to make it look like they know what they're doing. They may also shirk off any compliments they get, because in their mind it wasn't because they lived up to the role, it was because they got lucky that time. According to research by Dr. Valerie Young, there are 5 types of imposter syndrome: the perfectionist, the expert, the soloist, the natural genius, and the superhero. The perfectionist is set on making sure that everything is perfect. If they can't do something 100% right, they're a failure and an imposter. The expert places high value on their knowledge. They expect themselves to know everything, and so even a minor blank is actually a failure to them and makes them an imposter. The soloist believes that to achieve something you have to do it alone. They won't ask for help because if they do, it's a sign that they're a failure and a fraud. The natural genius believes that everything that they do should be perfectly effortless because they should be naturally good at everything. So if they struggle to master a task or a skill, it feels like a failure and makes them a fraud. Lastly, the superhero thinks that they can do everything, that they can juggle all the demands of being a great father, manager, friend, athlete, all without breaking a sweat. But if they do seem to fall short in any of these roles, then that's seen as a failure and that makes them a fraud. So, which one do you think you are? Who gets imposter syndrome? Honestly, no one's immune to imposter syndrome, but it is more commonly found in certain populations. Imposter syndrome tends to be more common in females and marginalized communities, likely because there's a sense that they have something to prove in order to be accepted and valued by society. It's also more typically seen in high-stakes, high-pressure work environments. Students in healthcare are especially susceptible to imposter syndrome. I can relate. In my training as a psychologist, I can remember me and my friends regularly joking about how we felt like imposters. See, when you're starting out in healthcare, just like any profession, you don't have the experience yet to make the absolute best decision every time. You're still learning and you're bound to make mistakes. But in healthcare, it's hard to accept those mistakes because you know in yourself that you're responsible for the well-being of another person. And if that person doesn't do well, even if it's not your fault, you feel 100% responsible. So it's hard not to feel like a fraud when you don't have that experience yet of that average level healthcare professional. What causes imposter syndrome? Let's start with the 3 key thought patterns underlying it. 1. An unrealistic and unsustainable idea of what it means to be competent. You look at the absolute best in your field, the chief surgeons, the attorney generals, the principals, and you think, I have to be exactly like that in order to be good in my field. Missing the fact that competency doesn't mean being the best. It's about doing the job to a satisfactory standard. Keyword, satisfactory. Because competence is not excellence. It's the plumber that successfully drains your sink. It's the Uber driver that gets you from point A to point B in a safe manner. It's the dentist that cleans your teeth and leaves them looking nice and shiny. 2. An unhealthy response to failure, mishaps, criticism, and mistakes. You think that if you were truly competent, you wouldn't make these mistakes. And 3. Equating competence with confidence. You believe that in order to be truly competent and qualified, you need to feel confident within yourself in the job. These thoughts drive the person towards engaging in behaviors that perpetuate the feelings of incompetence, such as over-preparing and procrastination. Let's take a look at how. When people are worried about failing, they often over-prepare for the task. They do too much background work, research the how to the assignments, or practice like it's a life or death presentation. Of course, this means they generally do well in the task, but this sense of accomplishment isn't well internalized into themselves. They don't take it as a sign that they are good enough, they only see that they did well because of that over-preparation. If they were truly competent, they wouldn't need to prepare so much. And so the anxiety, the fear of failure, the sense of fraud follows them into the next task. This is the imposter cycle. So maybe you have imposter syndrome. What do you do about it? Well, first off, you got to start challenging those unhelpful beliefs about perfectionism and what it means to be competent. You need to more realistically break down what it means to be competent in your job. Not perfect, competent. Think of the skills, outcomes, and other indicators of performance that would be expected of any random person if they were performing in your role. The better you can separate your expectations from the expectations of the job role, the better you can realize how unrealistic your standards actually are. For example, if you're an actor and people enjoy your character portrayals and the movies that you're in, it doesn't really make sense that you'd be an imposter because you're doing the exact thing that's expected of your role. Acting for an audience to help them enjoy a movie. You may feel like a fraud, but the evidence would suggest that you're not. And if that perspective doesn't change your viewpoint, we'll fall back onto the idea that you have the qualifications and use the validation of people around you to show yourself that you are good enough for that field. You are good enough for your role, and you do have what it takes to be legit, that you're not an imposter. Next thing, quit blowing your mistakes out of proportion. Mistakes are just a part of the process. You need to make them in order to understand what does and doesn't work. Just look at Thomas Edison. He failed on so many different inventions. But you know what his response was every time? I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that something does not work. Once you get rid of the idea that mistakes mean failure, you can see that you're not actually an imposter, you're just human. Also, with your thought patterns, stop equating competence with confidence. Yes, the two are related, but you don't have to feel confident in order to be qualified. In fact, there's many confident people out there that are the actual frauds. The word con man is actually short for confidence man. Or look at the flip side. A lot of people at the top of their fields are historically unconfident people. Would you believe that Heath Ledger, award-winning actor beloved for his portrayal of the Joker, was insecure about his acting? Or that Jimi Hendrix hated the sound of his own singing voice? You don't have to be confident or even have full faith in yourself in order to be capable. Finally, if you want to overcome your feelings of imposter syndrome, you have to minimize those behavior patterns of over-preparing and procrastination. I know, easier said than done, but just take a look at how they feed your imposter syndrome. Does your over-preparing help you to learn that you're good enough for the role? Does your procrastination help build your skills? And do they both make you burn out? Find a good role model at work and use them as a guide for how long to spend on your tasks and when to complete them by. And lastly, stop every now and then and take stock of where you've come from. Notice how much you've learned, how much more skilled you are, and notice how much better you fit your job title now than you did before. You might realize that each day you look less and less like a true imposter. That does it. Hope this video leaves you feeling less like an imposter. If you found the takes useful, let me know in the comments. You can also let me know what other suggestions you have in overcoming imposter syndrome. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.